Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. This time we're tackling something that I know a lot of us struggle with, getting enough of the right nutrients.
Definitely a common concern.
Yeah, and it can be tough to know where to even start. So this time, we've got some research highlighting some key nutrients that many of us in the U.S. aren't getting enough of.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so the research focuses on calcium, potassium, dietary fiber, vitamin D, and iron, especially for those who are pregnant or breastfeeding.
Gotcha. Important stuff for sure.
Absolutely. And we're going to go beyond just listing these nutrients. We're diving into specific food that can help you boost your intake.
Love that. Let's get into it.
Okay, so the first thing that kind of surprised me when I was looking at this research was acorn squash.
Acorn squash.
Yeah, acorn squash. It's apparently packed with potassium.
Huh. I never would have thought of that.
Me neither. But it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about how important potassium is for plants.
Right, like for regulating water balance and photosynthesis, all those crucial plant processes.
Exactly. And acorn squash, being all dense and watery, needs a ton of potassium to thrive. So that means we get those benefits when we eat it.
I love that. We benefit from all the plant's hard work.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, but just to back up for a sec, why is potassium so important for us humans?
Well, it's an electrolyte, which basically means it helps our bodies conduct electricity.
Okay.
And that's super important for things like making our muscles work right, our nerves sending signals, and keeping our heartbeat steady. And then getting enough potassium is also really important for healthy blood pressure, which, lowers the risk of stroke and heart disease.
Okay, so really important stuff. Acorn squash, officially on my grocery list.
Definitely add it.
All right, so the research also talks about standard and smaller portions for these nutrient-rich foods. It's not about being like super strict with portion sizes though, right?
No, not at all. It's more about showing how nutrient-dense different foods are in comparison to each other.
Okay, so like even a smaller portion of something can be a good source of a certain nutrient.
Exactly. A small portion of something like, let's say, dried figs can be packed with calcium.
Perfect example. Speaking of calcium, this research really stresses how crucial it is, especially for bone health, which makes sense.
Yeah, calcium is like the main building block of our bones and teeth. Getting enough throughout your life can really help prevent osteoporosis, which is when your bones get weak and break easily.
Right, really important. And I know we always think of dairy products as being high in calcium, but I noticed this research highlights some other interesting options too.
Totally. Of course, you've got your dairy products like yogurt and cheese, which are great sources, but then you've also got things like canned sardines with bones.
Sardines dot with bones.
Yep, with bones. It might sound a little strange.
Yeah, a little.
But those tiny bones are actually an awesome source of calcium, and they soften up during the canning process so you don't even notice them.
Huh, interesting. What if you're not a fan of sardines or dairy? Are there any good plant-based options for calcium?
Oh, for sure. Leafy greens are a really good option. Things like collard greens, kale, even bok choy.
Good to know.
Definitely.
Okay, so moving on to dietary fiber. This one always seems a bit mysterious to me. Why is it so important?
Right. So basically, dietary fiber is the part of plant foods that our bodies can't actually digest. It's like the roughage, it keeps everything moving smoothly through our digestive system.
Ah, okay, I get it. Like, keeps things regular.
Yeah, exactly. And there are actually two main types. Soluble fiber dissolves in water and can help lower cholesterol levels. Then you've got insoluble fiber, which adds bulk to your stool and helps prevent constipation.
So it's like a two-for-one deal for gut health.
Exactly. A healthy gut is a happy gut. And there are a bunch of surprising sources of fiber out there. Like, did you know chia seeds are loaded with fiber?
Chia seeds. Really?
Yeah, and black beans too.
See, I learn something new every time we do one of these deep dives.
That's what we're here for.
All right, next up, vitamin D. We know it's good for our bones, but this research seems to be emphasizing its importance for our immune systems too.
It is. Vitamin D helps our bodies fight off infections, which is so important.
That makes a lot of sense. Where can we get more vitamin D?
Well, fatty fish like salmon and tuna are amazing sources. And then certain foods like milk and cereal are often fortified with vitamin D as well.
Right, fortification. So it's kind of like a shortcut to getting more nutrients. But I guess not all fortified foods are created equal, huh?
You're absolutely right. It's important to really check the labels. Sometimes fortified foods can be high in sugar or other things you might want to limit.
Okay, so read those labels carefully. Good advice. And then we've talked about calcium, potassium, fiber, vitamin D. Did we miss any?
Yes. Iron. It's listed as being particularly important for certain groups, like infants who are primarily breastfed and pregnant women.
Of course. And those are definitely times when your body needs more iron than usual.
Exactly.
Right.
And good sources of iron include things like red meat, lentils, and spinach.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. What's the main takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is that even small changes in your food choices can make a big difference in getting enough of these key nutrients. Like maybe you add some spinach to your smoothie in the morning or swap out white rice for quinoa. Little things can add up.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that the goal isn't to eat perfectly all the time. It's more about finding enjoyable ways to incorporate nutrient-rich foods into your diet.
I completely agree. It should be sustainable and enjoyable. So, I'll leave you with a question. Now that you know a little bit more about these nutrient powerhouses, what one change are you going to try to make in your diet this week?
We'd love to hear about it. And be sure to check out the full source material for even more info, especially those resources they mentioned, like the Dietary Guidelines for Americans.
Yes, great resources.
All right, that's it for our deep dive on nutrient-dense foods. Thanks for joining us, and happy and healthy eating.
See you next time.